You know what's funny? People look right through me, like I'm part of the wall, like the mop I carry is more important than me. I'm Zeeshan Malik, 22 years old, working as a janitor at Horizon Global, the largest international tech consulting firm in the country. Every weekday morning at 6 a.m., I report to floor 34, and every morning, I see men in suits, some with watches worth more than my entire salary for the year, walk by me without a glance. No hello, no nod, nothing. Just the sound of polished leather shoes clicking past me. I don't blame them. They don't know who I am. To them, I'm just a kid with a broom and bucket. A nobody in a faded blue uniform. But what they don't know is my mind doesn't belong here. I wasn't born to scrub floors. I was born to speak. I was 8 when my mother passed away. My father, a former university professor in linguistics, raised me in a 2-room apartment filled with books in every language imaginable. Instead of cartoons, I grew up watching BBC documentaries. Instead of comic books, I read French novels and listened to Russian radio. By the time I was 14, I was fluent in 5 languages. By 18, I was interpreting full news broadcasts in real time. But after my father died during my second year of college, everything fell apart. I couldn't afford the fees. I dropped out. Took jobs wherever I could. Warehouse worker, delivery boy. Until I landed at Horizon Global through a cleaning agency. They had no idea who they had hired. And honestly, I didn't mind. The silence suited me. Until the day that changed everything. It was a Monday morning, I remember. Because my shift supervisor had chewed me out for being too slow, even though I just finished 2 floors alone. I walked into the 34th floor boardroom. Sunlight spilled through the giant glass windows. The table, long enough to seat 20 executives, gleamed like it had been polished by angels. I began cleaning silently, listening as usual. 2 executives walked in, deep in conversation. Did the translator confirm? One asked. No, still stuck at the airport. If he doesn't get here in time, we're screwed. This meeting with the German team is everything. That's when I paused. German? A language I spoke fluently since I was 10? I wanted to say something. I really did. But janitors don't interrupt executive conversations. So I kept wiping. At 10:27 a.m., the elevator doors opened, and in walked 5 people in sharp suits and steely eyes, the German delegation. They looked exactly how I'd imagined. Calm, confident, and clearly annoyed. The Horizon executives scrambled to greet them. Everyone was smiling on the surface. But underneath, it was chaos. Panic. There was no translator. Their assistant had miscommunicated. The only German speaker on the team was out sick. The backup? Flight delayed. And now here they were ready to discuss a $100 million partnership, with no one to bridge the language gap. I watched as Mr. Raymond, the CEO, walked in, sweating bullets. He greeted the Germans in English. They answered in German. He laughed nervously. Sorry, we're having trouble with the interpreter. Just a few minutes. They looked at each other and muttered something under their breath. Something I understood. This is insulting. They don't even respect us enough to prepare properly. I bit my lip. I should have walked away, but I couldn't. Mr. Raymond glanced around the room. His assistant looked pale. She whispered, Sir, there's no one. And that's when I made the biggest decision of my life. I cleared my throat. Excuse me, sir, I said softly. I can help. Everyone turned toward me, startled. What? Mr. Raymond blinked. Who are you? I stepped forward slowly. I'm Zeeshan. I clean this floor. But I also speak German, fluently. He frowned. You're the janitor. I nodded. Yes, but I also studied languages. Your guests. They think you don't respect them. They're about to walk out. He looked stunned. The German CEO raised an eyebrow. He speaks our language, I answered for him. In fluent professional German. They froze. The tension in the room changed instantly. Shall we begin? I said in their native tongue. Smiled. I turned back to Mr. Raymond. If you'll allow me, I can interpret, accurately, professionally. He was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. Do it. And just like that, I wasn't invisible anymore. I stood at the head of the table, behind the CEO, and began translating everything. Technical terms, cultural references, financial points, even subtle body language. For 2 hours, I moved between both worlds with ease. The German delegates were visibly impressed. One even said, "You should be in our embassy, not wiping tables." When the meeting ended, they shook hands. The deal was saved. Mr. Raymond looked at me like he'd never seen me before. "You're not just a janitor," he whispered. I smiled politely. I know. I thought it would end there. That after saving a multi-million-dollar deal, I'd go back to pushing my mop like nothing ever happened. But I was wrong. Very wrong. It started the next morning. My shift was supposed to begin at 6 a.m. But my phone rang at 5:17. It was an unknown number. Zeeshan Malik? A woman's voice said on the other end. "This is Michelle Adams, personal assistant to Mr. Raymond." My heart skipped. Yes, this is Zeeshan. Mr. Raymond would like to see you in his office. Immediately, I sat up straight in bed. Now? Yes, suit up. I didn't own a suit. The best I had was a button-down shirt from a thrift shop and a clean pair of black trousers. I ironed them twice and combed my hair like I used to for my college presentations. For the first time in years, I looked in the mirror and didn't see a janitor. I saw a version of myself I'd buried long ago. The office was on the 38th floor. I'd never been that high before. My ID badge didn't even work on the elevator. Michelle met me halfway and scanned me in. The hallway smelled different, richer, cleaner. There were oil paintings and hushed voices and no one rushing around. Just confidence, silence, and secrets. I was led to Mr. Raymond's office. It looked like something out of a movie. Glass walls, leather furniture, and a skyline that made you forget the world below. He stood up as I entered. "Zeeshan," he sighed. "Have a seat." I sat cautiously. He stared at me for a moment, like he was trying to figure out who I was. Not just what I'd done yesterday, but why someone like me had been hidden all this time. "You speak German like a native," he finally said. "I learned it from my father. He was a professor. Taught me languages before I could ride a bicycle." He nodded slowly. "Do you speak anything else?" "French, Russian, Arabic, Mandarin, some Spanish." "I'm working on Japanese." His eyebrows rose. "You clean our floors. I had to leave university after my father passed. The fees were too high. This job kept me alive." There was silence again. Then he smiled, a slow, rare corporate smile. "We have a temporary opening in our international relations division. It's an internship, unpaid for now, but I'll take it." He blinked. "You don't want to hear the details first?" "No, sir. I just want a chance," he chuckled. "Good, because I want to see what happens when a hidden gem is finally polished." Just like that, I was pulled from the janitor's roster. Same building, different world. I was given a desk on the 32nd floor, tiny, cramped, but mine. No more mop. No more cleaning fluid. Instead, I had folders with flags on them and files labeled confidential, but not everyone was happy to see me. There was one guy, Liam. His father was on the board, and he practically lived in expensive suits and sarcasm. When I walked into the office for the first time, he muttered, "Great. They're hiring janitors to do our jobs now." Everyone laughed. I smiled. Didn't say a word, because I wasn't here to fight. I was here to prove. For the next few weeks, I worked like I was still scrubbing floors, arriving early, staying late, taking notes, practicing documents in different languages, offering help on small translation tasks no one else wanted to do. And slowly, things shifted. People stopped laughing. My inbox filled up. People started asking me for help. Then came the Dubai opportunity. A high-stakes client was flying in a tech conglomerate with deep pockets, strict cultural norms, and zero tolerance for disrespect. Our Arabic-speaking liaison had resigned last minute. Mr. Raymond came directly to me. "I know this is early," he said, "but would you consider representing us?" I was stunned. "Me? You've lived on both sides of power, Zeeshan. You understand more than just words, you understand how to listen." I nodded. I called my mother that night. She cried on the phone when I told her I'd be flying business class for the first time. Dubai was surreal. Everything was golden, hot, and fast-moving. I was the youngest in every room, but I dressed sharp and carried myself like I belonged. In the conference room, I shook hands with the Sheikh's advisor and greeted him in formal Arabic. He smiled in surprise. "Few Western companies take the time to learn our culture," he said. "I don't just translate words," I told him. "I translate respect." That was the line that won them. The deal was signed. Another success. Another whisper of a legacy forming beneath my name. When I returned, Michelle met me at the airport with a note from Mr. Raymond. "From broom to boardroom. And this is just the beginning." I thought I was climbing. Every step I took felt like one rung higher on a ladder. I was never meant to touch, but ladders are tricky things. The higher you go, the more people want to pull you down, and someone was waiting for me to slip. After Dubai, everything changed at Horizon Global. People nodded when I passed. My inbox filled daily with requests to proof proposals or translate foreign correspondence. My desk was upgraded, and I was assigned to an actual mentor, a brilliant analyst named Rachel, who had worked in diplomatic circles. But while my work rose, so did the whispers. The office had its own caste system. Ivy League graduates sat at the top. People with foreign names like mine? We weren't expected to go beyond the mailroom, and I had broken that rule, especially in the eyes of Liam. Liam had been hired straight out of university with a six-figure salary and a silver spoon in his mouth. He wore arrogance like cologne. "Must be nice," he said one morning, leaning over my desk. "One lucky moment and now you think you're royalty." I stayed calm. "I'm just doing my job." "No, you're taking someone else's." A week later, the Berlin delegation came to town. The CEO asked me personally to lead translation on their confidential project, something about a merger between two defense contractors. It was intense. Every word had to be perfect. Every number, every clause, translated with precision. I worked late into the night, preparing. That's when the trap was set. The morning of the presentation, I opened the file I had finalized the night before, and froze. The German document had been changed. Subtly. But catastrophically. One clause now implied Horizon was agreeing to share confidential technology patents, something that would violate international law. I panicked. The document had my credentials, my name, my approval stamp. If I hadn't noticed, it would have destroyed Horizon and me. I ran to Rachel. We checked the document logs. That's when we saw it. Last edit by Liam's user ID. My heart sank. He had waited until I left that night. Logged. And under the guise of review, tampered with a German file, and left my signature on it. If I hadn't double-checked, I would have been fired. Maybe even arrested. Rachel marched straight to HR. What followed was a quiet storm behind closed doors, meetings, legal calls. It audits. Liam was suspended within 48 hours, but not before he left me one final message written crudely on my desk with a marker. You don't belong here. He wasn't alone in thinking that. After the scandal, I noticed the change. We're polite, but colder. The coffee machine would go quiet when I entered. Team huddles didn't include me. Even some executives looked at me like I was a liability. It broke something in me. For a moment, I considered quitting. That night, I walked back into the boardroom. The one I used to clean. The one where it all started. I sat down at the far end of the table, alone. The city lights blinked outside. I looked at my reflection in the glass. Maybe they're right, I whispered. But then I remembered my father. He used to say, Zeeshan, if a door doesn't open, speak the language it was built in. And if that doesn't work, build your own. I smiled bitterly. I had come too far to run now. The next day, I went to Mr. Raymond's office and handed him a document. It was my resignation. He stared at it. Are you giving up? No, I said. I'm giving myself space to become something greater. He folded the paper and put it in a drawer. You're not going anywhere, he said, because we're not done proving them wrong. 1 week after Liam was suspended, the office air felt stale. Everyone walked on eggshells. I kept my head down, worked quietly, and smiled politely. But inside, something had shifted. I had seen what this world really was. Shiny on the surface, sharpened underneath. Then one Thursday afternoon, a message popped into my inbox. Subject line: Urgent, CEO approval required, international summit invitation. I clicked it and read it twice. Then a third time. Horizon Global had been invited to speak at the Global Tech Harmony Summit in Singapore, an elite annual gathering of CEOs, diplomats, and innovators from around the world. Normally, someone like Mr. Raymond or Rachel would represent us. But this year, Horizon's leadership had made a bold decision. They wanted me to speak. Not just attend. Speak. In 5 languages. Michelle called me immediately. Zeeshan, she said, her voice trembling with excitement. Mr. Raymond said your name was requested by multiple executives after Dubai. They said you humanize the company, that you're the future of corporate diplomacy. I couldn't breathe for a second. The kid with the mop? The invisible janitor? Representing Horizon Global? On a world stage? The next few days were a blur. I was prepped by media consultants, given a tailored suit, coached by a speech specialist. But most importantly, I was given a microphone. The speech I wrote came from my heart. No buzzwords, no empty promises. Just my story. I practiced it again and again, switching between English, German, Arabic, Mandarin, and French. Each word was a brushstroke from a life spent listening, learning, waiting. The summit was held in a stunning glass convention center overlooking Marina Bay. As I walked in, cameras flashed. Executives whispered. A few even laughed when they saw my name tag. Zeeshan Malik, Language Officer, Horizon Global. Some thought it was a typo. Some thought I was an intern. But by now I was used to being underestimated. Backstage, I could hear the speaker before me, a tech mogul from Japan talking about AI and global expansion. Clean, rehearsed, forgettable. My hands were sweaty. Then Michelle placed her hand on my shoulder. Just speak like you did in Dubai, she whispered. I nodded. The MC called my name. I walked on stage, swallowed the fear, and looked out at 900 of the world's most powerful people, and I told them the truth. I was never supposed to be here. I began in English, then I switched to French. But the world speaks many languages, too many are never heard. In Arabic, I learned that respect doesn't come from your title, it comes from how well you listen. In Mandarin, I was just a janitor. But I watched, studied, and waited. Then in German, until one day, someone panicked. And I stepped forward. Back in English, I finished, "You don't need a perfect resume to make a difference. You just need the courage to speak when no one else will." The room was silent. Then thunderous applause. That night, I had dinner with ambassadors, executives, and even the founder of a startup I'd admired since I was 17. But the best part? A janitor from the convention center, an old Filipino man, approached me in the lobby. He smiled wide. You made us proud, sir." I shook his hand, because I knew. He saw me. When I flew back, the media had already picked up my speech. The multilingual janitor who stunned the global elite. From mop to microphone, Zeeshan Malik redefines. Corporate diplomacy. Voice of the future? Horizon's unlikely rising star, but I didn't care about headlines. I cared about the fact that this time no one erased my name. Fame is a strange thing. It doesn't arrive politely. It crashes into your life, rearranges everything, and asks questions later. After the summit, I wasn't just that janitor who saved the deal. I had become a name. A face, a headline. People recognized me on the train. Students emailed me for career advice. Even my old university, the one I had dropped out of, asked if I would return for an honorary degree. But the most surprising thing? Job offers. Hundreds. Top companies sent emails. Government departments reached out. 1 week, I received a hand-delivered envelope with a gold emblem on it. Inside was a letter from the United Nations. They wanted me to join their special linguistic diplomacy unit, focused on conflict resolution and high-level global negotiations. Role would be based in Geneva, fully paid. High security clearance, multi-language operations, and an unlimited path to international recognition. Read the letter 4 times. Then I read the last line. Immediate relocation required. 6-year contract. No concurrent employment with any corporate entity. In other words, I'd have to leave Horizon Global. Forever. For 3 nights, I didn't sleep. This was the dream. The mountaintop. The kind of job people spend a lifetime chasing. But then I looked around. At my desk on the 32nd floor. At the glass hallway I once swept in silence. At Michelle, Rachel, even Mr. Raymond, people who believed in me before the world noticed. And at the janitors still walking the same path I once did. The 4th night, I met Mr. Raymond in his office. "I need to talk to you," I said. He smiled. "Let me guess, UN?" I nodded. He leaned back. "It's the opportunity of a lifetime, Zeeshan." "That's the problem," I said. "It would be my opportunity, but what about everyone else?" He raised an eyebrow. "I finally have a voice," I said. "And I want to use it here to change things from the inside. To make sure no one else like me ever gets laughed at for daring to be more." There was a long silence. Then he said something I'll never forget. "Then let's build something together that even the UN will envy." Instead of resigning, I made a proposal, the Zeeshan Malik Multilingual Initiative, a first-of-its-kind internal program to identify, train, and promote multilingual talent from overlooked departments: janitors, cafeteria workers, mailroom staff. Rachel helped draft it. Michelle pushed it through the board. And in a unanimous vote it passed. Within 3 months, we had 42 staff enrolled in language mentorship programs. 6 janitors transferred to interdepartmental communication roles. 1 cafeteria worker, who spoke fluent Korean, was flown with me to Seoul as part of our expansion team. The walls were finally opening. And the UN? They wrote again, this time with a different offer. "Whenever you're ready, the door will remain open." The world had noticed, but more importantly, I had chosen to stay where I could make the biggest difference. Not in halls of power I hadn't walked, but in the very corridors I used to clean. 10 years later, most people don't recognize me anymore. The boy who used to mop the 34th floor. Boardroom is now the Chief Cultural and International Affairs Officer of Horizon Global. My office is at the top. Floor 38. I sit behind the same glass walls that once felt like castles built for someone else. Now I build doors in those castles and hand out the keys. I've spoken at parliaments, advised prime ministers, even been nominated for a UNESCO Medal for Global Communication. Diplomacy. But that's not the part I'm proudest of. Every Friday at 6 a.m., I still arrive early. Not to work. To walk the building. To listen. To notice the faces no one else sees. The janitor wiping down the vending machine. The cafeteria girl learning English on her phone. The security guard reading quietly in Urdu, because I remember what it felt like to be invisible. To carry brilliance inside a body everyone overlooked. To know 5 languages, but not be allowed to speak. One particular Friday, I stepped into the boardroom. Empty. Clean. Just how I used to leave it. Then I saw him, a young janitor, maybe 19, maybe 20, wiping the glass with quiet focus. His shirt was too big, his hands uncertain, but his eyes sharp. He startled when he saw me. "Sorry, sir," he stammered, quickly stepping back. I smiled. "No need to apologize." He nodded, avoiding eye contact. Then I said, gently, "You speak Hindi?" He looked up, shocked. "Yes, and Bengali too," I grinned. "What about Mandarin?" He tilted his head. "Only a little. I'm still learning." I stepped closer. "Keep learning," I said. "And when you're ready, come find me." I slipped my business card into his front pocket and walked away. That evening, I pulled out an old box from my office drawer. Inside were the things I never threw away. My original Horizon Janitor ID card, the first speech I gave in 5 languages, a copy of my resignation letter unsigned, and a sticky note from Mr. Raymond that read, "Build a ladder that others can climb." They say success is about rising. I disagree. Real success is about returning so others can rise. 2. I still wear blue every Friday. Not a uniform, but a tailored suit in the same color. It's my silent reminder that I was once the boy in the background until I dared to speak and did the unthinkable.